Safe drinking water, free of pathogens and impurities, has been an expectation within our standard of living for decades. In April 2014, the city of Flint, Michigan changed that premise as over 100,000 residents were unknowingly exposed to contaminated water with high levels of lead.
In the United States, I think there's this level of unawareness of not knowing that over 170 million Americans today are impacted by radioactive materials or carcinogenic chemicals in their drinking water.
My name is Jim Connor. Welcome to Game Changer Silicon Valley. This segment of tonight's show will discuss how we protect the quality and safety of our drinking water. My guests are Meena Shakaram, CEO and founder of Ketos, a company focused on analyzing the quality of water, and Monty Nguyen, an active angel investor and mentor to the company. Meena and Monty, welcome to the show. Meena, let me start with asking you to give us an overview of just how serious is this water contamination issue.
Thank you for having us today, Jim. Now, the quest for safe drinking water has always been a battle, and I think it's a long-pronged approach of you look at overall water availability, and there are two aspects to it. There's the safety aspect of it, and then overall water availability and the efficiency of water. In the United States, I think there's this level of unawareness of not knowing that over 170 million Americans today are impacted by radioactive materials or carcinogenic chemicals in their drinking water. That being said, the tap water is still much more regulated than bottled water. And people believe that just because the water is clear, it doesn't mean it's safe. And I think fundamentally, United States is going through, along with several other countries, this process of looking at infrastructure and revamping infrastructure from hundreds of years. And I think the lack of infrastructure in terms of advancements in technology have not been applied into this specific industry. And as you start seeing this industrial IoT or automation happening, I think the water industry and the entire utility industry is going to go through that in the next decade.
So I think that there are, from my limited perspective, two types of contamination. One is runoff from the land with fertilizers and all the other kinds of contamination. And the other one is infrastructure, meaning in the pipes, or somewhere in the filtering system, or somewhere in the chemical treatment. Is that correct?
Well, there's several, even more, because now you look at contaminants, there's groundwater contamination, and then you start looking at fracking and mining. You have the fertilizer and pesticide from the agriculture side of it. You also have other waste mixing into water. See, the water that we think of is, everybody has this imagination of the Sierra Nevadas and the snow-clad peaks and the water coming, but there's the entire infrastructure of water coming from that source across multiple distribution points to your tap.
What are the products or the services that you're offering to address this problem?
Sure. So Ketos fundamentally has been built because of bringing the integration of water and the IoT network and the smart connected networks with data science. And we believe that having proactive capability and the early warning notification capability at least gives you an upper hand for avoiding another Flint from happening, because there are several cities across the U.S. just on the brink of making that happen. And providing and empowering cities and businesses with those tools can revolutionize how we look at water data.
Very good. So Monty, welcome back to the show. This is your second visit as a guest.
Thanks for having me.
At what level are you engaged in this technology, or are you more engaged with the entrepreneur?
You know, I have to say that I'm probably more engaged with Meena as an entrepreneur. I love the space. I love the IoT. My background is in networking. You know, when I first graduated from college, I went and worked at the tech center in Warren, Michigan. So Flint is near and dear to my heart. And there's a lot of serendipity in life. So in the summer of 2016, we were traveling in Italy. And of course, if you look at the Roman Empire and how that died, a lot of that had to do with lead poisoning. Right. So it was a lot of those things coming together. So when I was at the Watermark conference, and I was on a panel about women investing and mentoring, and then Meena came up and said hello afterward, and we just hit it off. I saw in front of me a woman who is dedicated, passionate, driven, and working in a space that I think is very, very much needed for public health. So, you know, we connected, and we've been in touch ever since.
So this was a, what can I say? Was this a value-added relationship? Did it work immediately for you, or did Monty force her ideas into your head? How did that take place?
No, I think mentors are, a lot of people talk about, hey, you want to be our mentor and, build that relationship. I think when I look at mentors, to me, it's about who are the right people who can be help you build this village ecosystem of support. This is not something you can accomplish alone. And I think Monty has been a terrific resource in terms of kind of keeping you on track and being able to help you sort of validate that you are indeed separating the signal from the noise and kind of moving forward. And talking to Monty and just leveraging her as a sounding board, just to talk about, these are your challenges, and have that level of transparency is very rare. And I think I absolutely cherish that relationship.
I want to just touch basically in your early years of when you tried to start the company and you then decided to start a cash-generating business to fund your idea.
Right.
How did that happen? What happened there?
Well, typically when you come into fundraising, and I started Kitos around fall of 2015, and within 6 months of building a proof of concept and having sort of your handful of milestones, it was interesting for me to talk to several seed investors and angel investors and realize that the market is very different. The ideas that you have of how software startups have fundraising versus hardware startups, especially in the space of clean tech, and water is kind of considered this intersection between impact and clean tech, and so no one looks at this as a core enterprise tech. So we're sort of, disrupting the market with multiple integration points, and so it was also difficult for investors from different angles to kind of come together. And I realized the bar is very different. The bar for me was, just the amount of milestones. They wanted to see a proven hardware product with customer, with revenue, and pilots for a seed round. And I realized, okay, let me have a reality check and go back to the drawing board and figure out, can I accomplish these milestones in a year? How do I sustain for that 1 year? And I was no way going to give up. I had put in over my entire cash savings of last 15 years of my career into this. So for me, it was all in. And so in terms of the impact and what I wanted to accomplish, I had to be creative. And I believe in terms of taking risk, my metrics are pretty high. So I created a consulting engineering company with all the background and the infrastructure I had, and drove that company to success. Within a year, we were about 30 employees, between 0 and 30. And somebody would think I'm absolutely crazy driving 2 companies, 2 startups on your own. But you got to be creative. It's about being resourceful. And I talked to Monty about it, and she was like, no, do what you got to do.
Were you a part of that?
I think that inherently within her, the sense of survival, the sense of the will to succeed. And I think in many ways, I see a part of that in myself too. I mean, so I think like we kind of resonate, right? And it also being an angel investor, I'm also very realistic about it. To go out raise money for a clean tech related deal, hardware oriented, where you're not going to have the hockey stick that you're going to have millions and millions in revenue over 18 months. Realistically, you have to come up with money from somewhere to fund it.
You do quite a bit of mentoring.
Yes, I do.
What would be your advice to a woman entrepreneur, in this case, who is looking for a mentor?
Gosh, that's kind of like a bit challenging, right? Because everybody looks for something different. From the investor perspective, I think a good angel investor has 3 elements, right? Somebody who has the financial capital, the emotional capital, and the intellectual capital. So that's what I would look for if I were to look for a mentor. Yes, you can put money in with financial resources, but you have to have the desire to help, which is emotional capital. And you need to have the intellect to help, right? To know that this person can absorb this kind of information at this point in their development and deliver that. This person is ready to make this, to have this kind of introduction to this group of people that give them the foundation to go to the next step. So I think that notion here of the elasticity and awareness between the 2 entities. I think it's very, very important for entrepreneurs to understand that overnight success takes 10 years, 15 years to build. And for me, it's a major turnoff when I see an entrepreneur who thinks that in 18 months they're going to flip the company and they're going to be this fabulous success and they're going to go up and be a VC. Right? and you see enough of that, kind of like, well, good luck. It takes a long time, and it takes a lot of perseverance, persistence, and the will to succeed and to survive.
Yeah. What's your future here look like then? I mean, you're in these prototypes with cities and various other organizations, correct? Is there going to be a breakout period for the company in your sense, in your mind?
Absolutely. So our products are at a stage where we've proven it. We've deployed it across US, India, and Mexico. And we've had terrific success in terms of the data we learned, in terms of the optimizations. So 2018 is all about deployments, pilots, and learning. We want to be ready for the market in terms of widespread deployment in next year. So this year, we're absolutely working very closely with anyone who's interested that makes relevant sense with our use case and value add for us to do a pilot and work with them very closely. Because ultimately it's about making sure we're the right fit for them.
Right. So Monty, you've had a great run here as an angel investor. You're extremely well known, deal lead. We belong to 3 angel groups in the Bay Area. What's coming down the road here for the next 12 months, maybe 18 months, for startups in the Silicon Valley area?
What I see is that a lot of people who think, not quite get rich quick, but the notion of, oh, this is easy. And then there's this romanticism of being a founder, CEO, and the cocktail circuits. Okay. So I see that I'm still looking for the type of entrepreneur like Mina, the one who has a solid idea, the one who pursue it regardless whether there's money on the table or not in terms of funding, and the one who just keep on going regardless of the naysayer, right? And I think that it's harder and harder to find those entrepreneurs. So for me, next 12 months, the next 24 months, I'm looking a lot more toward mentoring. I mentor for different universities as well as through various angel groups, and try to find that that rare pearl of an individual, of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Very good. Well, I want to thank both of you for your time tonight. And if someone would like to contact the company, what would be the best way to do that?
Please go to our website, www.ketos.co, and you can drop in a note, and we'll be happy to reach out to them. Otherwise, happy to share my email address. It's mina@ketos.co.
So Monty, if some aspiring entrepreneurs want to contact you, what is the best way to do that? Or would you rather have them find a way to be introduced to you?
I'm more than happy to meet with entrepreneurs, and especially, female entrepreneurs, right? I I feel like, there is that helping hands, the extra helping hands. So they can reach me at monty@sandhillangels.com. That would be one venue. And I'm also at monty@bandangels.com, and I think a few others.
Yeah, you got it.
So there are many ways to reach me.
There are several ways, that's right. Good. Well, I want to thank both of you for coming by. I really enjoyed this. A delightful story, and I'm going to have to be far more aware of what's going on with my water. When we have you back, we'll talk about the actual tech and the IoT that you use to measure this. And thank you so much, Monty, for bringing Mina to my attention and suggesting this concept and this topic. So I want to wish you both every success going forward.
Thank you for having us.
This is Jim Connor. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Game Changer Silicon Valley. Each week, we'll address an area of innovation that may emerge as a game changer of tomorrow. You can contact us or subscribe to the shows at gamechangers.tv. We look forward to your continued interest and participation in upcoming shows.